Okay, so we're gonna get started tonight. We have public hearing in front of us for Manlius Public Hill. But we're gonna start with we had 2 work sessions this week. We had Taco Bell and the Ethan Allen property. Do we have any on the docket for the next time yet? Has everyone seen the minutes? Any questions, modifications, discussion? Motion to approve the minutes. Kevin, all in favor? Aye. So we have our agenda in front of us. What I'm actually gonna do, because based on the size of the audience here, I'm actually gonna go through and we got a couple of motions to get people out to the ZBA. Got three of those. I'm gonna go through and just knock those off real quick. And then we'll move over to the public hearing. Shouldn't take more than probably a couple of minutes. First up is going to be Shake Shack. We have an applicant present for Shake Shack.
Sorry.
No? Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and read the motion here. This is for a motion to the ZBA for additional signage. So this project is allowed 3 signs on the building site in accordance with the existing approvals in the town zoning code. And all 3 are proposed to be on this site. Specifically, there is 1 sign on the building facing Erie Boulevard, 1 sign on the building facing Bridge Street, and 1 monument sign. The total of these signs is within the 120 square foot total limit of the code. The applicant now seeks a 4th sign, which is in the nature of a lit logo sign on the facade, which faces the neighboring Olam's site. This board notes that 3 signs is a generous number of signs considering the size of the project and significant visibility of the building. Currently permitted signage from both Bridge Street and Erie Boulevard. The additional proposed signage does not increase pedestrian or vehicular safety, enhance the aesthetic value of the building, nor does it identify a patron entry. The sign facing Erie Boulevard already provides significant visibility of this use to the cars traveling publicly down Bridge Street to Erie Boulevard. The additional signage requested does not meet the purposes of signage as set forth in code section 192-106A, 1 and 2 town code. Accordingly, this board recommends that the ZBA deny the variance request for the additional building sign facing the project.
Excuse me, Nate, yes, I think that it's the sign facing Bridge Street. Is the one that is providing the visibility, people traveling down Bridge Street to Erie. So I believe that would be a correction to that resolution.
Accepted.
Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah, so we have the one facing Bridge and the one each.
Yeah, the
one that we're talking about.
The one pertaining.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
Hamburger.
Whatever, which I call it north, but it's not.
Which is in the upper left.
Building elevation. Relative to the building elevation, it would be on
It's north.
that one right
Yeah,
there.
it's that little hamburger logo in the upper corner.
Yep.
Do I have a motion? Dave, second, Kevin, all in favor? Great. Unanimous, thank you. Next up, Restoration Pro. We have applicants here for Restoration Pro.
This one, Kirkfield Road, right?
Yes,
Yes, I'm representing the owner.
okay. Why don't you just state your name for the record? State your name. Yep,
Želimir Miranović.
okay,
Želimir Miranović, I signed the paper, my name. I should sign his name too.
that's fine for right now, if you're here on behalf of the applicant.
Yes.
Yep, okay. So what we have in front of us here for Restoration Pro, this is a modification to the site plan. They're looking to build an addition on the back of the building. We've worked with this applicant over a couple of sessions to reduce the number of variance requests that they're looking for the ZBA. I think we've gotten it to a point where we only have the 1 variance request, which we'll make a motion on this evening. Is everyone, everyone's familiar with this site? Okay. I'm going to make a motion for recommendation to the zoning board of appeals to allow for a rear yard setback 29 feet for the construction of a small addition to the existing garage on the site. The required setback per code is 40 feet, which requires an 11-foot variance. The applicant has worked with the planning board to minimize variances that might be required for this site and to present a reasonable plan for this use in a high-tech zoning district. The building addition will be in conformity with the other site plan regulations and requirements and will not detract from the aesthetics of the site. The applicant shall be required to return to the planning board for final site plan approval, should this variance be granted.
I think the variance is 10.6 feet.
10.6.
Do you have the site plan? The current site plan, proposed site plan?
This is the
available?
one.
Yes.
The final was 29.4.
Yeah, so 10.6.
10.6 the variance.
So we'll modify that to
It
be
is.
10.6.
29.4 is the total.
Yeah.
10.6 somehow.
That one.
It's in the bottom right down there.
Yep,
Okay.
unfortunately, will not wanting to respond.
So they brought the building in off the side property line, so we eliminated that one. And reduced the size a little bit. It's all, it meet all the parking requirements, height requirement.
Circulation though on the site was also,
Yeah, so there's the space for them two-way. It is tight on the parking spots there, but that's an existing condition. They're allowed, they can get it. Yeah.
What is the actual variance then that's requested?
10.6 feet.
10.6, okay, rather than the 11. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No.
A motion to approve? Leif? Kathy, all in favor?
Nate, did you want to talk about building materials and all of that in this here, or save that until we come back?
We'll save that for when they come back. All right, last up, we have, well, not last up, last of the recommendations. Is for Solvay Bank. Yeah.
Yes. Bill Murphy from Space Architectural Studio representing Solvay Bank.
So here we're looking for a signage recommendation to ZBA. This is another one that we worked with the applicant in terms of the signage. I'm going to offer a motion for recommendation to the zoning board of appeals as follows. This project presents a site plan improvement, which is a freestanding bank on a site where a grocery store also exists, making this a plaza multi-tenant site. The project presents two signs which are permitted of right in the code. One sign on the building facade that faces toward James Street and one building mounted sign that faces toward West Manlius Street. The applicant seeks a third building mounted sign which will face the parking lot in the front, air quotes, which is also the facade of the primary pedestrian customer entrance, the southwest side of the building. The applicant has worked with this board to minimize the requested signage, including foregoing potential monument signage and additional requested signage on an additional facade facing parking. This signage is reasonable for the site and enhances reasonable traffic patterns around the site and allows for simple identity of the use. Accordingly, this board recommends that the ZBA grant the variance for the additional sign as presented with the understanding that the applicant must return to the planning board for compliance with a multi-tenant sign package as required by code. Got it. Understand multi-tenant sign package.
So we have to come back with a full multi-tenant sign package for the entire plaza, but that would be after we make it through the
Correct.
GBA.
Yep.
Okay. Yep.
Right, and there'll be a final approval, like this is just the recommendation, then we'll look at all the rest of the details as well.
Yep, understood.
The applicant further requests that the stacking requirement for the ATM lane only be reduced from 5 spaces to 4 spaces. This applicant has worked with the board on this very tight site to present a project that will minimize the need for variances and fit within other code requirements relative to drive-throughs, including the prohibition of same in the front yard. Accordingly, the slight reduction in stacking will make this site work appropriately for the ATM use. The applicant has further shown that the stacking as presented with only 4 spaces will work for its use without major traffic inconvenience. This board therefore recommends that the ZBA grant the requested variance to allow for 4-car stacking in the ATM lane instead of 5. With the understanding that the applicant will return to the planning board for final site plan approval. All right, so we have those 2 variances. Are there any questions?
Do we need, or has there been a finding on the official front yard?
With respect to,
2 front yards, is that still an issue on this?
I don't believe so.
No, no longer an issue.
Don't. Right.
That's a good solution.
Yep. Discussion. Motion to approve the recommendation. Kevin, Danny, all in favor? Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, so we are gonna shift now to the public hearing. The way that we're gonna do this now, everybody that came in will have hopefully signed in. If you'd like to speak, you need to sign in on that. We need name, address, phone number. We're gonna offer 3 minutes for those people that would like to speak. It is a strict 3 minutes, and if you look around, there are a lot of people here. After which we will ask the applicant to present their current layouts. And then this board will have a further discussion. I will say, once the public hearing is closed, public comment is done. I mean, we're not gonna open this up to people talking and over the applicants, and we're gonna let them have their time to speak. And then this board will talk afterwards. So with that, we will.
Excuse me, Nate, I do want to state that I'm recusing myself from this matter, that Matt Natoli, the town attorney, will act as attorney for this matter. And I will be muting myself and turning off my camera.
Thank you. Okay,
To sign see if anybody who speaks.
I will leave that up to. Side over there. So with that, we'll, I guess we gotta move to open public hearings. Doug, lay a second. There we go. Public hearing is now open. Do we have our first? Guess who signed in first? Wonderful. Stand up, state your name, and the clock will start.
May it please the board, my name is Karen Doctor. I live at 109 Stonecrest Drive, DeWitt. My family and I have lived here for 31 and a half years. I am here solely in my capacity as a resident of the neighborhood. The issue before this board is whether MPH should be permitted to modify the existing site plan from 2007 to allow for vehicular site circulation through the gate at Pool Road during school student dismissal times. On September 27th, 2007, this board granted the application of MPH for controlled site approval of the MPH Andrews practice fields with certain conditions. Significantly, in order for this project to have been compatible with and sensitive to its residential neighbors, MPH was to ensure that the gate at the existing lower level field on Pool Road be closed and a main gate installed for the students' walking access to Andrews Road. MPH has violated that condition as a course of conduct and has acknowledged that more than once to this board, especially on October 24th, 2024, as well as in the GTS consulting document dated January 29th, 2024. I waited after attending the meetings in both September and October until Monday, October 28th, to see if MPH would have time to fulfill its charge under the 2007 contract and close that gate to traffic. The gate was closed and padlocked with its heavy chain in the morning. Yet by afternoon, the gate was open and cars were streaming in. This has continued through today, a final point which I will address shortly. I have observed vehicles rush through that gate, talking with folks talking on their phones and via Bluetooth. I have observed children dropped off by the JD buses, walking down the middle of Andrews Road heading east, chatting with friends or listening to their devices as cars speed down the middle of Stonecrest, my street, heading north from the Woodchuck area, presumably to avoid the school zone at the new school, left onto Andrews and straight to the Pool Road gate, or cut down on Andrews to veer left onto Pool Road and thus access that gate straight on. Our neighborhood has many dog walkers, me included, who keep shifting to avoid the cars that are heading for the gate. I have had a few near misses myself from those cars on their way to the Pool Road gate. We have parents and grandparents who walk the neighborhood throughout the day with children in strollers, buggies, and riding.
That would be time.
Time? Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
You have the next person on the list. Somebody have the list?
If I could find, Ann has the list, I think she kind of got caught behind the crowd. You get Ann, she.
Crowd surf.
I'm pretty sure I signed after.
Yes.
Hello, everybody.
So we can bring Ann in with the list. She's being a kind helper tonight. So, you don't mind.
Please bear with me, I'm really nervous.
Well,
Don't be nervous.
Yeah, don't be.
I'm Janice Ryder, I've lived on Addison since 1989. And I have 4 points, I'll be quick, I promise. The first is the photograph in front of you. I was going out to the post office today, a little after 2, and it got to be about 2:30. I know I'm not gonna go on my street after 2:40 or so, because I know what's coming. But I had to go to the post office, and I thought I'd swing right by and take a photo of the line for it. The cars are often lined up on Dunlap, and they were not today, because as I arrived, the utility vehicle was leaving the gate, having just apparently opened it. I parked so I could put the date. Please note the timestamp from my phone at the top of the photo. I parked to put the date on it, and within a minute, several cars started coming in. They didn't have to line up today, they went right in. It was represented last month that this is open at 2:45 to 3:15. A lot of people will tell you the error in that. So that's one. Number 2, it looks like it's not up currently, but last week there was an attachment on your website of 2 maps with possible routes or access. It's not my decision, but I like the one on the upper level, but it bisected the playing field. So that wasn't exactly fair to the school. In front of you is a map handout, and it talks about room for a road. I'm suggesting that the access road follow the property line and turn at the tennis courts. This would allow pickup at the same place they pick up now. It would not interfere with the soccer field. Although the school has recently taken to storing their benches and nets close to this property line, there is indeed ample room for a single access lane, with or without fencing. And this would afford parents the ability to wait in line on the property, or in the unlikely case of overflow for such a long road, at the Pebble Hill Church parking lot, which the school is still currently using. 3, I cannot in 3 minutes address all the reasons that the continued usage of our neighborhood streets is a terrible idea. I see the most salient problem is that of safety. Residents report problems with speeding, rude and oblivious drivers, and disregard for local traffic or people pulling out of their own driveways. Moreover, it is critical that you realize that the timing of the MPH traffic exactly coincides.
That would be 3.
Okay,
Thank you.
I guess I was next on the list if we're going in order, sign it. Hi, my name is Kathleen Bennett. I'm an MPH parent. I'm an attorney with Bond Shinnick and King. I practice environmental and land use law. I've been in front of this board for other applicants in the past. So I'm speaking as a parent and as a lawyer. So since my son started at MPH 4 years ago, and I'm gonna go fast because mine's actually 4 minutes and I gotta condense it to 3. I've been primarily responsible for the after-school pickup. So initially, we used to pull into the church parking lot across Jamesville Road, which is a county road. Parents of elementary students would line up first. Parents of middle and upper school students would kind of wander around and park in random spots in the parking lot until it was our allotted pickup time. At this same time, you'd have students coming out to get in their cars. So there's pedestrian traffic, there's student traffic, there's cars coming in, there's cars going out, there's cars lined up waiting to cross over Jamesville Road. And then you have some poor employee from MPH who has to come over and try and direct all of this and then risk their lives every day by going out, standing in the middle of Jamesville Road to direct traffic from the church across Jamesville Road into MPH's property. So that's the way it used to be done. I will submit to you that from a parent's perspective, it was illogical and confusing. From a land use attorney's perspective, access from or across Jamesville Road adversely affects the flow, control, and safety of both vehicular traffic and pedestrian traffic to an unreasonable degree. The past 2 years, they've been using the rear entrance from Pool Road and Dunlap Drive to form the pickup queue. I must get there too late because I've not witnessed excessive traffic in the neighborhood and I've not witnessed cars stacked up outside the gate. That pickup is set up so that 2 lines form at the gymnasium. Middle school and upper school parents are on one side, lower school parents are on the other. There's a smooth flow of traffic, pedestrian traffic as it impacted. MPH employees don't have to risk their lives directing traffic across Jamesville Road, and the main entrance stays open for emergency access. So from a site flow and traffic safety perspective, use of Pool Road is reasonable, supported by a traffic study, together with correspondence from the DeWitt Police and Fire Departments. There's no evidence in the record to the contrary, and generalized community opposition cannot be the basis on which land use determinations are made. As for the alternatives that this board requested, there's nothing in the zoning code or the site plan guidelines that require this. While seeker contains provisions for the consideration of alternatives as in the context of a positive declaration and an environmental impact statement, this proposed site plan is a type 2 because it's a routine activity of an educational institution, and the consideration of alternatives is one of reasonableness. So the range of reasonable alternatives to the action that are feasible considering the objectives and capabilities of the project sponsor. It's not feasible to ask a K through 12 educational institution to remove a playground or tear out its athletic fields to construct another driveway. That alternative does not take into account the objectives or capabilities of the school, would be harmful to its educational mission. And would have.
No.
Time. Thank you.
Thank you.
On the list, we have Nancy and Bill. Sliminski.
I'll speak for see what's shining behind me. My name is Nancy Sliminski. I'm from 113 Addison Drive, which is on the corner of Addison and Dunlap. I am probably the oldest person in this room because I grew up in that neighborhood. My parents were the original owners. I moved, spent my youth there. Those 3 streets formed a circle, which was our world as children. We could bike, we could walk to our friends' houses, we could draw the chalk on the street. It was a safe and wonderful neighborhood to grow up in. I moved back there in 2005 to take care of my father who was dying, and then again in 2016 until 2022 to take care of my mother. So I have seen the evolution of that neighborhood over many, many years. When Manlius Pebble Hill bought 113, which was a lovely residence, and the lot at 115, there was a meeting just like this in the town of DeWitt, where the residents came forward and opposed that purchase. They were afraid of what might happen. I would I would hope that there weren't nefarious intents at the time, although what I have watched happen would imply to me that there were. If they just waited long enough, everybody die or move, and then they could do whatever they wanted. And that is what appears to have happened. They made promises to all of those homeowners back then that that would never be open, it would remain a green space, and it would only be there for emergency use only. And that has not been the case. Their headmaster moved into 113, it was renamed to residence for a while, and then he moved out and it has, excuse me, gone to hell. It is a mess. So I had hoped that my son from Baltimore would take this house, and we've been fixing it up and trying to modernize it a little bit because my grandson doesn't have a place to play down there. My best friend at 106 Dunlap, her mom passed away, her son moved in there 6 years before Grandma died. And then they bought the house, and he and his wife started their family there and renovated and modernized and spent a ton of money and time. And about 2 years ago, looking out the kitchen window at the zombie house and looking at all the cars lined up, yes, they do line up, in front of their driveway where they couldn't even get out, they made the decision, they just had their second child, that this wasn't a safe place anymore to raise a child. Sean remembered it from when he was a child visiting his grandmother, but it just wasn't what it was. And so they moved and they bought a ranch house. They bought almost the same house, but they left because they didn't feel the neighborhood was a safe place to raise children. That is not the neighborhood that I was raised in. It's a neighborhood. Yeah, I don't know why it suddenly could be even considered to be changed for a private school. It just doesn't make sense to me. Neighborhoods evolve. People grow up, kids move out, new families move in, more children come along. That's a normal evolution. I don't go to see cows down in Andrews Road anymore or ponies up in DeWitt Hills, but the neighborhood is evolving again. There are people behind me with young children. And this is just a completely unsafe, untenable situation. MPH didn't have a good plan, obviously. Not our problem.
Does she get bills 3 minutes?
3 minutes per address. Sorry.
Yeah. Would you like to speak?
I don't have too much to speak. I'm the parent, father of one student who is living, studying in the Alexander Hill, and he's there 5 years, 6 years. And from last year, we starting to pick him up from the rest gate, which we consider the process is pretty streamlined and fast. Personally, I don't do too much pickup. My wife did the pickup, and she didn't talk to me about too much about she's seeing too much unsafe driving behavior over there. She didn't see that. The line is mainly inside the gate, inside the gate. It's not in the community line or the community driveway. That's what she told me and what I have observed sometimes. That's basically what we have seen. So that's all. I don't use 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Employees of MPH allowed to talk?
I pulled.
Mike London? That's that?
He's one of the applicants.
Okay. But I wasn't sure of.
Yep.
Caitlin? Chera?
I'm Caitlin Chera. I'm a resident on Dunlap, and I wanted to just come push back on the characterization that our neighborhood is not, or is just empty houses while people are away at work. I am registered as a child care provider in my home. My house is right where the stop signs are, so I see the traffic coming from Andrews down, or essentially Stonecrest, down Dunlap, the ones coming down Addison, and from my house, I can also see the ones that do turn down Pool during dismissal, and it is areas that I use with the kids to go for walks, play outside, so I just am paying attention and slightly concerned of the increased traffic and unknown people coming through, right past my house. And I do want to give a little bit pushback. I don't think it's unreasonable to have a trained crossing guard to help direct traffic. And not just a custodian.
Sorry, bear with me, I'm trying to read everyone's writing. Stephen Wilkie perhaps?
Yes. Yeah, 108 Pool Road, Steve Wilkie. I've been there about 20 years and just this afternoon, I wish I had got my camera out because I was trying to back out and plus the speed. And I've been there a while and I don't believe at the expense of our back and our taxes that I didn't sign up to live in a place where it was going to have traffic like we're saying. Unfortunately, a lot of the people that are actually picking up their kids, I know they have well intentions, but the fact is that it does pile up both on Pool Road and on Addison, as well as Dunlop, because I've seen it time and time again. I don't know what to say to you folks, but the way I'm looking at it, I've been around for a while, I serve my country. And I don't believe that our board here is designed to put the expense on our back to have to suffer this kind of indignation. That's just what we're doing. We're putting up with the fact that we've seen promises, you've heard people talk about that. Now, all of a sudden, we're supposed to not say a word and put up with it because they're paying for it. It's a private school. I don't believe that's the convenient answer. I don't even think it's the right answer. I don't think it was the intention, but it's gotten out of hand. I need it. I think everybody needs to back off, but more importantly, the traffic needs to slow down and get reduced, because I hate to say it, but it's probably gonna take somebody either getting killed or maimed before there's a lawsuit, and it will stop. This same thing happened up in Cherry Heights in Town of Clay when I was living up there. Somebody had to get hurt before we went to the board and said, you gotta stop this nonsense. So that's all I really have to say about it, but we need a more prudent look at it. Laws be damned, people get hurt because this stuff happens and we don't need that. So, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Heather Baldwin? Bear with me again, if this is not for MPH, Neil Conway.
Yeah, I'll pass.
This one, I can't make out the name, it looks like it's 5786 James. What is it?
Hi, I have a different perspective because I lived right on the main road. Back to Norfolk, 5188 Janesville Road. Right on the main street, equal distance from the library and MPH and the new school. And I have to tell you, I am a stay-at-home mom. I see traffic all day, pedestrians, cars, fire departments, police, everything. And the new site plan that MPH has works. They're in and out. There at any given day, the traffic flows at Jamesville Road. And I feel very safe for the kids that get off the bus from JD or MPH crossing the street and the kids from the new school walking to the library. And I have a sense of security and safety in this current day. Whereas 2 years ago, 3, 4, 5 years ago, when this plan was not in place, traffic would be backed up. And people would speed down Jamesville Road. They would not stop for the bus. There were instances where I was afraid for the children crossing the street, even though the bus driver would point them out and give them signals to cross. Some of those cars were speeding so much that they wouldn't stop in time. Also, when traffic is backed up, the fire department and the police department can't get through. And if you all are saying that traffic is so bad going down Addison and Stonecrest and Haverhill, and if there's an accident, well, what happens if the police department and the fire department are stuck on Janesville Road? How are they gonna get to your house? But for me, I feel that this is the best plan, and MPH gets them in and out, and I do have two children going to FPH also. And I pick them up and I go down my neighborhood streets and I don't see any cars by 3:10, 3:15. There are no cars. I'm just cruising along and they're very efficient, whereas before pickup time, like she said, you had to go and park across the street and then, one of the attendants would flag you over and it became a bottleneck all up and down Jamesville Road. And which point the police department and the fire department couldn't even get through. So I'm here to give you my perspective and to support the new MPH site plan. And I hope the board would consider that and continue to make us folks on the main road feel secure and safe and have this plan approved. Thank you.
Again, I'll apologize if you're not here for MPH. Drew Ward.
Here. I'll be very short. I do pickups in the afternoon. My daughter, we end up parking across the street and I have not been down in the neighborhood to see the traffic, so I can't speak one way or the other. But I will say that the traffic flow on Janesville Road is a major concern. When I watch the kids coming across as I'm waiting for her, it's a little chaotic. And that's after I'm picking her up after the crossing guard is there, because this is after sports and so forth. So I think I respect the neighborhood. I hope our parents will respect the neighborhood as they pass through it. But I don't think that the pickup on Janesville is a safe option there. The more we can get the traffic off of Janesville, the better.
What time are you picking up after sports? Just so I can know a little bit.
Probably like 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock, and there's no crossing guard at that time.
I don't
what you're
think
saying.
so.
Okay, yeah, I just was wondering, because I don't know their whole pattern.
For clarification, there's no crossing guards, period, as of right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Terry Wilson. Okay.
She doesn't have a voice, she's singles. And she has a voice in society, but it's that's not a white male saying. To be clear. He's also not sense.
Amy Abdo, I don't know if you're here as a resident or as.
I'm as an employee, am I allowed to speak?
Yes.
So I'm the elementary school principal at MPH, and we have 100 students, about K-5, that we work to dismiss safely and carefully every day. I certainly regret hearing the different ways this has impacted the neighbors, but I've been at MPH 15 years and I've seen the way that it works when we do Jamesville Road, our own people out in the middle of the road, trying to get them across the street from the church. That, in my opinion, really impacts our people who are in their cars and pedestrians crossing in a way that I feel is very unsafe. That felt really uncomfortable. If we were to route the lower school traffic, the K-5 traffic out to Jamesville Road, that will back up with our buses. So right now we're able to open our doors and get our kids as young as 5 right from the door into a parent's car, quickly, efficiently shut their door, they safely drive off. If the campus is all backed up with buses and traffic because of the different times the buses arrive, that puts teachers and I in a position where we're walking on campus, across parking lots, trying to get kids safely in cars. We have done this in the past, and I do have safety concerns about it. So the plan that we have now, with an effort to get our kids off campus as safely as possible in an efficient way. We're in session 160 days a year. We try to do it in about 20 minutes or less. So again, I regret the inconvenience, but from our perspective, this is the decision we made for our little ones because it felt the fastest and the most efficient. And we did feel really concerned about what we observed on Jamesville Road in the past. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Rote.
Hi, I'm John Grote. I'm one house away from kitty corner from the Pool Road gate on Pool Road, 110 Pool Road. Steve Wilkie is my next door neighbor. And I guess I would just say that I hope that the board can find some kind of happy compromise, because I have definitely observed cars speeding. I have observed distracted drivers, and I bought in that neighborhood as a house for my parents. And while I was in the process of remodeling the house and making it handicap accessible, unfortunately, both my parents passed away from cancer. But I have observed what my neighbor Steve has as well. I've also observed the backups on Jamesville Road. And I'm not a traffic planner or engineer. I'm not sure what the answer is, but I know that, you know, in that neighborhood I bought because it was a quiet little street, quiet little neighborhood. It's not quite as quiet right now with the traffic coming in and out. And really, since it started in COVID, I think we started seeing that in 2020. So not really sure what the answer is, but I wanted to express as somebody very close to the gate. I'm not a anti-MPH at all, and I think it's actually a real asset to the neighborhood. But I hope that some compromise can be worked out to take down the tone there, because there are definitely people speeding through the neighborhood that weren't in the past. Thank you.
Spencer, are you speaking?
Yeah, I'll speak real quick. I'm Shane Spencer. I'm the chief of police for the town of DeWitt. I come here tonight because there's a letter that was sent on behalf of the police department a few months back by the acting chief at the time. What I would say is this, is that I do understand the concerns of both parties here. I understand the concerns of MPH about Janesville Road, having their staff out there, doing the crossing guard, potential backups, things like that. But I also understand the concerns of the neighbors. I understand your concerns about speeding vehicles or people not stopping, and your concerns as well. In history, I've been with this department, and as far as I can remember, we have not been involved in any planning board decisions or put our input into those decisions. You guys act as your own entity. But I'm not here to give our opinion either way. I get concerned with both. So that's why they come here, that letter was sent. That is an opinion inside the police department, but I don't feel comfortable saying that either way, this should be handled by the planning board. You guys make your decisions based on the public hearing and your information that was provided by MPH. So I do get everybody's concerns. I think it's great that everybody's here expressing their concerns. I think safety for everybody is important, obviously, for the staff and the children at MPH, but also for the neighbors and the kids who are walking from the JD school buses. I think that's important too. So I just want to come say that piece, that we're not going to put our input into either way. I don't think we should. It's not really our purview as a police department, so.
Thank you.
John Ferris?
Oh, that's I do.
And sorry, is it Annie? Yeah. Annie? Yep. Thank you. I'm a parent of a 6-year-old at MPH, and I also have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, so I bring you with me for pickups. So, you know, I didn't know how it was before, but the idea of having to park with my little kids in the car on Jamesville Road or across, and just the idea of that, the safety makes me a little bit nervous. So. Ken Andrews?
Ken Andrews, I'm not a resident of the area, although have been for decades, to the point of who's been there the longest. I was part of the original 2007 agreement that MPH made with the town regarding the practice fields that were on Andrews Road and so on. Grew up in the area. And honestly, I just came out to see whether or not you used some common sense from the planning board standpoint of whether or not sending cars through this small neighborhood was an appropriate use of the area. I would, refer to what Karen Doctor started to say, it doesn't seem as though this is really the appropriate method of sending cars through the area. It was never intended for that. The people who reside there never envisioned having cars backed up in their neighborhood and driving through the neighborhood. I just came to observe, although I had to sign in, so I have the opportunity to speak, but just doesn't seem like this is a good idea from my perspective. And knowing the history behind it, that it was never intended or expected to have it come to this point. Put crossing guards in Jamesville Road. It's not gonna stop any less traffic by sending them through the neighborhood. The cars still have to go to Jamesville Road, whether they go to Stonecrest, whether they go to Andrews, or they go to Addison. All those cars are still gonna be on Jamesville Road. Put crossing guards in Jamesville Road and control it at that point, but don't send them through the neighborhood. But that's just my opinion.
Paul Bartlett?
Yeah. I live at 201 Stonecrest. Previously, I lived at 106. I don't see why we have to continually accommodate requests from MTH if they're not going to stand by the previous means pursuant to the athletic fields and the use of the property they already own on Haverhill. There's a dilapidated house that's been sitting there that hasn't been used as long as I can remember. And I don't think we should make further accommodations to them to parade traffic and noise and hazard through a residential neighborhood. Brandon said, any car that comes into that neighborhood went up and down Jamesville Road anyway. Confine and regulate the problem there. We need police observing speeds through that school zone once or twice a week for an hour in the afternoon. That might be a better way to address traffic safety. Thank you.
I'll apologize if I pronounce it incorrectly. Reverend Steininger?
Yeah, hi, my name is Reverend Courtney Steininger. I am the pastor of Pebble Hill Presbyterian Church and a resident at 200 Saybrook Lane, which is the parsonage on the church property. The church has had a congenial relationship with MPH for a long time. They do utilize the church parking lots. However, under the previous dismissal, it was a disturbance to, like, there are church events that also happen in the afternoons, and the assumption that you could just direct traffic back through. Like, I know there have historically been complaints about people, church members, trying to attend church events in the afternoons, unable to get into the parking lot when dismissals were happening there. Certainly, we're really sensitive to the concerns of the individuals who live in the neighborhood across the street, many of whom are members of our congregation. But we're really concerned about the safety of either directing traffic back into church parking lots and preventing us from being able to conduct our business, as well as the safety aspects on Jamesville Road and backing up Jamesville Road.
Rosie, did you want to speak on this?
No.
Didn't want Stephanie Freeney?
I'm Stephanie Green. I am a parent of an MPH, 2 MPH students. I will say, to the point of the gentleman who addressed the issue of having police to monitor the safety and the speed at which people travel down Jamesville Road, I will share. My older daughter, who plays soccer at MPH, routinely has witnessed, to her sheer delight, cars being pulled over by a police officer who was in the Pebble Hill parking lot. And she can see the car speeding down and sees the cop routinely pulling these cars who are speeding over. So that is a mechanism that already exists in place on Jamesville Road. I will say I don't regularly pick up my children from the after school dismissal time. I only do that when needed. And in those instances, I can only speak for myself, and I have a great deal of respect for the residents of the area in which we are driving through that neighborhood, and the level of respect that I have for being able to do this, and driving through the neighborhood is, I think, shared with many of the other parents throughout the MPH community. And I would just disagree with some of the opinions and the blanket statements that MPH parents are somehow distracted, driving too fast. And some of those statements, because that does not apply, nor to every MPH parent who uses that alternative pickup route. And it's a little, it's frustrating to hear that all of us are clumped somehow into this pool of people who are somehow misusing and misappropriating our speed down through the neighborhood, and that we lack the respect for the residents who are there, which is not true. Thank you.
Michael Green?
Hi, Mike Green at 6891 Whitfield. I am a father of 3 lower school students at MPH, resident here and also a combat veteran. I think all of those things are important to say, but it's really down to our opinions. I don't know if there's a way of advocating for more of a metric-based decision and assessment that actually can ID some of these issues that are being talked about and described dramatically or not. Previous places I've lived have been able to do that, so I don't know if that's an option or not. But I would advocate for something that's a little more metric-based so we can understand the facts of what's going on as opposed to hearing more things.
Renee Vinyl?
Just following what Mike Green had said, I'm a parent at MPH who's done both ways of traffic. And I feel like it's a little bit mischaracterized from what I've seen going through the neighborhood. I actually remark when I drive through how quiet and calm it seems. I never see any neighbors. I hardly ever see other cars even going up through MPH, maybe one other car at a time, and it seems relatively fast and seamless compared to the way that it was. So if someone could maybe observe both of the ways, and it's not so opinion based, I would agree with that too.
David Tense?
David Tennis, yeah. I'm a board member and an MPH and a parent and an alum, so I've seen the school over 30 years, I have to admit it. Gainesville Road will back up and used to back up pretty routinely without using this. The 2007 agreement really related to the use of a ball field way at the bottom of Andrews Road that has been discontinued. And that field there's no longer any lease. The school has no interest and no use in that field. So I haven't seen in the agreement exactly, but I understand the context under which it may have been presented, but certainly a discontinued use. My biggest observation is as I drive by Moses DeWitt, I notice that the cars line up through the neighborhood, down, I think it's Canterbury and into the DeWittshire neighborhood. So it seems that it's not an issue for cars to have lined up through that neighborhood, and I just wonder why, if it were preventing a backup on what is a major artery at this point where we've had significant traffic increase over my tenure, we're avoiding that on Jamesville Road and permitting the same use of traffic through the neighborhood that we would permit through Canterbury and the DeWittshire. It seems to me it's consistent within usage. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
And Joe McSherry?
Well,
That is everyone who signed in. Has anybody missed that needed to be signed in? That's everyone then.
Let's check if there's anyone on Zoom.
Yes, is there anybody online that would like to speak? Going once, twice. So, okay. With that, I'm gonna move to close the public hearing. Kevin, Jenny, all in favor? Great, thank you. At this time, I'd like to offer MPH the opportunity to present. They have got new options to show us in here, but the public.
Yes, indeed.
So
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Are we under the time constraint or not?
no, we're gonna have about 15 minutes to locate your updated application. You've got it from here.
Thank you, appreciate it. First I want to say thank you so much for everybody who's come tonight, including our neighbors in the neighborhood. I'm really, really grateful for a chance to meet you for the first time because I moved, right? This is my second year here at MPH. I moved to Syracuse a little over a year ago. We really care about being a good neighbor for the neighborhood. And so I have to confess, I'm a little sad that this is the first time I'm having a chance to meet you. I would have loved to think that, you know, if there had been any kind of an issue or complaint that you would have felt comfortable taking it to us directly. And I just want to say here in public, on the record, to all of you, regardless of how this hearing turns out, either way, I would like to have some kind of an established mechanism for us to stay in contact with each other because it matters to us. I don't have anybody's email addresses. I contemplated, you know, going door to door knocking, you know, at some point, but that didn't feel right, especially, you know, with an election season, you know, on and all that kind of stuff. So I just want to say that that is a genuine, you know, desire on my part as the head of school. So let me just give context here about, you know, what it is that we're thinking about. You know, the presenting problem emerged last year when I took, you know, this role as the new head of school at MPH, having no context of all of the history that came before it. My chief financial officer, Dr. Matt Carr, also started new with me. Neither one of us had any of that kind of history or context. There had been quite a bit of turnover in the administrative, you know, leadership at the school over the last decade. One of the first things that we learned was that we had a problem with the pickup procedures at the end of the day because there was two significant issues. One, that it was dangerous because we had our employees out on the road stopping traffic on Jamesville Road to shepherd cars and walkers, you know, back and forth over the road. Apparently, also, I have people described to me as driving like maniacs on there. I don't know, you know, whether that's a fair characterization. I do know that a traffic study that we subsequently commissioned says that, you know, despite the fact speed limits are 30 miles an hour, and for a school zone in front of us, it's 20 miles an hour. The 85th percentile speed is 35 miles an hour. And I do know that we have documented instances from our employees where people were shouting obscenities at them, disregarding them, a couple near misses. And also that there was traffic backup on Jamesville Road before we did that, which was one of the things that kind of led to that instance, including, for example, a time when we could not get emergency vehicles onto campus for a medical emergency, I believe it was. And so, you know, what I'll say is the second presenting part of that problem is we're actually not authorized, my understanding at the time, to stop traffic. We're not crossing guards. We're not allowed to do that. So we were putting our employees at risk for something that we were not legally allowed to do. So we immediately said, we can't have this. And so we consider, so what's the alternative then, right? Well, the alternative is, well, let's have the rules of the road happen where, you know, people come in as they come in. That includes buses. That includes anybody who happens to be driving down, right? We have enough, you know, passage to be able to have one way in, a circle, and one way back out. And so we do care about being good neighbors for the neighborhood, right? Not just for MPH. And so the issues that we found with that approach were, we know that the traffic backed up previously, and we also know that it's going to be even worse than it was before, right? We know that a car comes down their vehicle every 8 seconds in each direction from that traffic study. We were concerned about the impact on neighbors in local neighborhoods being able to get in and out of Jamesville, onto Jamesville Road, when traffic was backed up in both directions in that way. We were very concerned about the impact of safety vehicles, knowing that there's little to no shoulder on those roads. And when vehicles are backed up in both directions, that would impede their ability to get to our campus, also to get to people's homes in the neighborhoods. And furthermore, we also knew that we had a timing problem because right down the road from us are two different schools, right? The new school, which is fairly small, Moses DeWitt, their timing actually, the way that we have it currently structured now, we're not intersecting with the timing of their pickup. Whereas we know that if we have a solution that doesn't address that timing issue, it can extend the traffic, take what to do, and that's going to get exacerbated because it's going to interfere at the exact same time that Moses DeWitt is going to be trying to do their pickup at the end of the day. So we looked at all those options. We, again, concerned for the neighbors and the greater good. And I have to say, give my team a ton of credit. They came up with a really creative solution. And I think they did a really good job on that. One that reduces traffic, increases safety for everybody concerned, We only subsequently found out after the fact that we weren't actually allowed to do that, and so we needed to amend our site plan in order to do that legally, and that's what brings us here tonight. So I want to bring our team up here to talk a little bit about why that approach has worked so well.
Yeah, I can start. So as we had presented in October, the way we've been operating is, as we all know, they have our lower and middle school parents enter the campus through the Pool Road gate. They, at that point, stack up in twos up to the point of our gymnasium, where they are called forward to pick up their children. They process past our tennis courts to where there is a stop sign here. Turn right and exit in front of the campus out through the exit in Janesville Road. At the same time, we have our buses from approximately 20 to 25 local school districts that are coming to pick up our students. These buses, because of the number, back up into the main entryway on one lane. And in the second lane, we have the parents of our 3 and 4-year-old students. Our pre-K students enter and pick up at our Center for Early Learning, which is in the blue right here. So this has allowed us to, we also have, to point out, we have stop signs at each of the locations here where the cars in green, the buses in orange, and the cars in blue will all exit, so that then one car at a time is processing out onto Janesville Road. We have found that this has reduced the amount of traffic, certainly that was being stopped on Janesville Road, down to none. And has allowed for a pickup procedure that lasts approximately 20 minutes in the first couple of days of school, that perhaps extended to 25. But most days we have completed our pickup procedures by about 3:20. So we have felt as though this is a safe and efficient way to exit the campus for all involved and for our neighbors in the neighboring communities. We did, at the board's request, put together additional diagrams that show other possible options, including the elimination of one of our athletic fields, which not only supports athletics, but also our club and organizational activities, commencement activities.
They're listed there, man.
Yeah, oh, thank you. They are listed in the top right-hand side. Our lower school classes for recess included, and community events as well. So this would seriously impact the school's ability to support its students in the pre-K through 12 environment and its community, while coming at a significant cost as well, both with drainage, paving, et cetera. The other option that was asked for us to consider would be to widen the road closest to the access road that goes next to the gym and closest to our playground for young children. By doing so, we have the same concerns with cost and moving lighting, drainage. In addition, that road would abut directly against the playground where our students ages 5 through 12 play both during and after school, creating a significant safety hazard with two-way traffic at that point. In addition, we have the issue with the buses coming in, and because the number of buses exceed the length that we have for pickup, because of the number of school districts we support, at a certain point, we would no longer be able to process through in two-way directional traffic and back up significantly onto Janesville Road in both cases. So in both cases, we do not feel as though that is a suitable alternative to what we have proposed.
And I would add, we're talking like costs in the range of 6 figures and up, right? We don't have those resources to spend. And I don't have the luxury of seriously compromising our program by removing fields, by removing playgrounds for children, right? So, you know, to my understanding, like we did look at those, right? But they're simply non-starters for us. So to my mind, the only viable alternative, if we're not allowed to go ahead with the site plan, is that we're going to have to go back to rules of the road on Janesville Road. And again, we're not allowed to be crossing guards. My understanding is that the town of DeWitt can and should pay for crossing guards to do that. That's, you know, I guess on the town, but that's not something that, you know, I have a choice to be able to do. Is that true?
It's not true.
It's not true?
Holy Cross, another private school,
we have a constable, and that constable operates in that school as school resource officer.
Okay.
We have to do that with a private school because we can't pay for things for private.
I guess I'm not familiar with the office of a constable, like the difference between, again, I'm new here, moving from out of state, so I
There's
apologize.
training that they go through, or how does that work?
They're a peace officer, but it's just it's a way that the town can have police monitoring private schools. We're able to do that because the private school pays us upfront, and then we pay with the school's resources to the constable, so the town is not fronting any money or credit or anything. And I don't know if you've had conversations with the police department asking about crossing guards. I don't think
did,
anyone's
yeah.
saying that you have to have your employees out there shepherding people across the street. I think the town would welcome a discussion to get some more help with the actual police
Could we,
crossing the road.
could we look at the videos so we can take a look at actually what's going on site versus opinions and a traffic study to document? I think for the visual people in the world like me, it might be helpful. You wouldn't mind clicking on that link, that'd be great. So we flew a drone up on the site just to get our eyes on what was going on. The drone battery only lasts 10-15 minutes, high quality. So we're giving you a snippet from 3 to 310. And this is at 16 times the speed. So don't be alarmed at how quickly the people are walking and the cars are driving. Could you expand that? We're not getting the times on there. Yeah. Make it full screen, please. I got times in the bottom that are kind of ticking by. Mine's, yeah, okay. Mine's starting over for me, I'm sorry. We got times, so I kind of want to go off the times there so we understand what's going on here. All right, yeah, if you do the hover, that should go away. There we go. Great, Monday, 11/4. 3 o'clock, don't move the mouse. So you'll know.
It's not me, I'm not touching it.
You'll know, our cars are stacked, they're not backing up, they're coming through the gate. Provided the gate is open at the time, you'll see that other cars are not only in the site, but they're stacked on the asphalt, which represents a significant distance from the gate. So backing up onto the neighborhood road would not be an issue based on this volume, for one thing. Next, you'll note there was some conversation about the cars coming in and then going back through. That's never the case. The cars are always going one way through the neighborhood, going through here and pulling out. Now, what I'd like to note, one more time, please. What I'd like to note, and take a careful look at the buses, because there was another comment that said, you know, you can just fix this with crossing guards. Yeah, thank you. And Gordon's here if I'm gonna step in it here. Simply fixing a volume issue with crossing guards is not it's not really feasible because cars represent a physical space. So you know if there's a bus right there, could you pause the video, please? Now there's 2. All right, they're still there, that's great. 1, 2, 3, 4, there's your buses, all right? So say we did do some kind of a loop or some situation where you come in here, because the buses are there, and even if you mixed cars in, if you didn't mix cars in, cars would still be backing up onto Jamesville Road. So the question is, well, if you have a crossing guard, they could do something about it. Once someone has driven down Jamesville Road to get to here, their only alternative then is probably going into the church to prevent a backup. And to do that would be similar to the same situation we were talking about before, where you have kids crossing the street and those cars and these buses are coming at such a time that you can't really stagger the scheduling for them. We talked about that internally as well as another option. Gordon, do you want to add anything to volume counts, staffing?
Well, I mean, I guess for everyone's education, my name is Gordon Stansberry, GTS Consulting. I'm a traffic engineer through and through. I've been doing this for roughly 32 years. Long time to count cars. The main thing that I wanted to say is that I understand the residents' concerns. I certainly appreciate them. As a traffic engineer, we're forced to try to balance public safety versus convenience versus danger. And the 3 options ultimately, from a pure operational standpoint, the operational is to use the side road to get down to Pool where you're getting off of the main road. The issue of stacking traffic on Jamesville Road where you have narrow shoulders, you start to bottleneck, you start to back up longer distances, is a significant safety concern at higher speeds. I would recommend that maybe the school have conversations with the neighborhood. Maybe there's traffic calming measures that could be implemented if speeding is a concern on the neighborhood streets. I think that there's more discussion that could be had to find a balance. And the one other thing I would like to just note is that I've studied probably about 100 schools, maybe 120 over my career. And there's a lot of schools that are significantly larger than Manly's Pebble Hill that pass entirely through neighborhoods to get to and from the school grounds. One great example is Baldwinsville. Everyone comes off of 31 and they have to go on Oneida Street, which is all residential, to get to and from the school. And we're talking, 5, 6, 7, 8 times the volume easily. I've had a number of schools where the school is based 4 or 5 blocks off of the main road where it's all residential and that's the only way in and out of the school. I think there's ways to work together. But from a pure traffic engineering safety standpoint, the optimal plan would be to get the traffic off of Jamesville Road. Because that's where your heaviest volume is, highest speed and crossing dangerous situations.
One more point, we play it one more time, because I also do a lot of 3 minutes, so I'm gonna take mine. Start over for me, please. I ran a count on this, and I'm no traffic engineer, I'm a landscape architect. So we're looking at space versus cars. But in terms of volumes coming through the neighborhood, the number is 27 cars. That counts these and all those, and this is peak hours of pickup. This is 3 to 3:10. Are there more? Sure, we estimated 50, 52, just to be safe. But that number here doesn't represent 52 the way you would think of it. This isn't Chick-fil-A at 5 o'clock where everyone's stacking up and hungry. This is people coming in at the convenience of picking up their kid, which is a lot of folks who are not necessarily coming at the same exact time. You'll know this is moving through. I mean, you at the max stack is right when you start, and that went back to here. You'll see there's never ever you're never going to see 52 cars here at once. You're just not going to see that. What you're going to see is people stacking up, and then as they pick up, they leave, and then new people replace them. And those cars coming through the neighborhood also should not be backing up, provided the gates open. But when they're passing through, they're also coming in 1s and 2s and 3s versus 10s and 20s, because we only have 26 cars. So.
And I'll just add again, maybe I'll start by saying, look, here's my card. I hope you'll please pass it around. We'd like to stay in contact.
Okay, so we're gonna look to.
We're the kind of community where we work in partnership with our parents. You've heard from many of them here tonight, right? So I know that our parents are responsive to concerns that we raise to them. If I had learned that there was even a single instance of a resident who said, hey, listen, I saw this car speeding down my road, my guess is we would probably be able to figure out, not just that we had some parents perhaps who were speeding down the road, but probably the specific car, the specific parent, and I could be saying, hey, Stephanie, can we just have a little chat, right, about before next time, right? That's the kind of relationship that we have with one another. And I also know that even if I do, and we do send out a blanket statement that says, hey, lower school parents, right, we're thinking about this, we'd really like you to be responsive to this and work in partnership with us. They generally do, right? And again, I care about this. I was out at the Pool Road gate at the start of school for the first 2 weeks every day when we opened it to make sure that I was seeing the parents who were coming in for the first time, right? Getting a chance, for me, it was an opportunity to also, say hi and meet people, right? And I didn't just meet our new parents, I also met some of our Pool Road neighbors. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to meet you yet, but I really would like to do that. So again, we want to work in good partnership with the community. We genuinely believe this is the plan that balances the greatest good for the greatest number of people. Thank you.
I'll ask the board, based on the options that were shown here, of A, B, and C, are there questions?
Is it possible to have 3 lanes where the blue, can we bring up the diagram? Can you have 3 lanes where the blue and orange are?
No, it's not wide enough. Not with buses.
How not wide enough is it?
Don't know the width.
Well, so, there's been proposals for, a road potentially, well, obviously crazily through the field. But to the right side of the field and then between the field, that's a whole lot more pavement
The
that
right side of the bus
potentially,
because of grading.
so landscape.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think
Widening
you
the
could have
three-
chose that shape or
Right,
like.
No, that's about there. Okay, so.
So the blue, so if the blue.
So widening that road. Alright, so we widen the entry drive, so now you can fit car, bus, car, or.
Just so, right, so just up to where the buses
Yes,
turn,
so
right?
that's all fine and dandy, and I agree with that. We looked at that. I should have shown you, but what happens is, again, you get to that corner of the playground and that becomes a one-way kind of. It's a suicide lane there, because it's a.
Point where the playground
Yes.
is for me, again.
Sure, so
I don't-
here's
I don't
this
know.
playground.
Yeah.
Tennis courts, there's some fencing here, and this unfortunately narrows to one lane right there. And to move this, number one, there's a bit of a hill here, pretty steep, and then you would impact the playground fencing, some lighting, and there's a lot of utilities in that area as well. So if you did lane, and Kevin's point is add another lane, I like it, to here. Then all of a sudden, things get a little funny because you have buses trying to go that way, so I guess you put the buses.
Buses would be in the middle of the way they are.
Put the buses in the middle, alright, so you're coming through here, this is the point you'd have to stack to. And turn around and come back out, or come back out. The congregation and the backup that would occur, probably right here, because those buses are still coming back. I still think it'll be too much because of that one lane bottleneck, you're talking.
Let me zoom in so I can't.
You can count cars here, I could count cars.
Well, no, so like,
But when you're counting cars, we should
Yeah.
be counting 20.
27 cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So what, there are a few parking stalls there, why can't those be,
These are handicap parking stalls.
right, but can we find another location?
so why are we why are we just picking up where the vertical red arrow is there? Why are we going to the one lane backup? Why aren't we using the outside loop?
You're saying go like this?
Yeah.
Yeah, like why
Is that
aren't you
wide enough
using
for two
that green
cars?
loop? We are.
We do use this.
Yeah,
That's exit out.
Confused, I'm sorry.
Right, so how many
Exit out.
cars can
The exit
stack
out,
on the
right?
green? If it's 3 lanes wide at the entrance until the pink disappears, and the buses disappear. And then
One
you're
lane.
double stacked on the green, does that fit everybody?
I could count it, I don't think so.
That is the safety issue because we suppose the kids supposed to leave the cars only on the right side. We have 3 lines or something, now we have kids all around the place and it's.
No, we're not.
Okay, so it's like
Three lanes.
double stack, is single car around.
No, just at the very entry
You're saying
there,
do
in order to
this.
allow cars to get.
Okay,
with
so
buses.
let's say that 10 parents show up in when dismissal happens, just like I showed.
Yeah.
Alright, so you line up, you come back to here,
Make it double wide where the green is and
So you
there
double
is
stack
already,
there.
yeah,
okay?
stack further, why, stack
Well, the
up to
thing too
that
is-
red arrow.
I guess I'm also confused by, you have a 20-minute window, right?
Yeah, roughly.
Why can't people show up? If I show up somewhere, I can show up at 8, I can show up at 8:05, I can show up at 8:10. Why don't people just show up at designated slots, generally speaking? And to really greatly reduce the number of people. Well, people showing up early, they can clearly get there later. And they're just waiting, so can you schedule people?
Again, we're.
On time slots?
I'm wondering, if that. I'm wondering if that was consistently true for you as a parent, picking your child up or dropping your child off, right? Like every single day, there can often be so many variations, right? And what we have now basically solves for those variations, right? Those variations could be another child's sports schedule. They could be a program that's running on the school that day. They could be, an away game versus a home game versus a debate tournament versus, all kinds of stuff.
But aren't those
right?
later
So-
pickups?
Yeah.
We're talking about just that half an hour.
Yes, what I'm saying is like,
Sports are
I could
later.
tell someone, please show up at 8:02 every single day. And I'm sorry, 3:02 every single day, right? The odds of someone being able to consistently do that, right, to the point where we can schedule traffic flow are
But it gets back to
diminishing.
how
slow.
many you can stack.
Yeah.
And how many need to be there at a time.
I think what we need to look at here is certainly the application in front of us, but the fact that you guys had a significant amount of land, you have options here to contain your traffic on site. I think option C, even though you might lose a little of that or widening that area in order to create the loop up through there, I think there are options
What's
to.
option C?
Widening the one way out, which is sort of where Kevin's.
And we
Right,
ran
so
we ran a
going
cost
up-
estimate for that, right?
Yeah, we did.
I don't, it's like,
Well, so here's the thing,
$100,000
I understand there's a cost implication to all this stuff. But forcing the cost implication from your property out into the neighborhood in order to solve that is not a reason for this approval.
I would say two things
Okay.
though. One, bringing more cars on here is also when students would be, on campus, moving from field to field and all that kind of stuff. And we talked about what it means to have lower school students having to walk across those things. And two, there's a difference between cost in dollars, which I don't have, and cost in time, which is what people would be spending on Janesville Road as the alternative. I don't have dollars to spend.
The option that we're looking at here appears to contain all of the cars.
Right,
None
at
shown
a
how-
cost of dollars, right?
Yeah,
Understood.
yeah.
Which I don't have.
Okay. I mean, I hear that. I'm not challenging any of that, but the fact that you've got an issue that you can deal with on site somehow and be creative, and I know Christian can be very creative with figuring this out,
Only with dollars though, right?
potentially.
So,
I don't
or
know.
I could just use.
I'm not
the-
gonna.
Or I could
debate
just
it.
use the existing site plan and the existing rules of the road. And that's what we would have to do, right?
Yeah,
You can do that.
yeah, you
That's
can
what
do
should have
that.
been doing.
And again, at the cost of safety to the neighborhood.
Your opinion, see that, not.
I think that we start to put something like a money versus safety.
Yes,
So-
and also I'd like to address the point that you said that the superintendent.
I'm sure.
They've done the time already, I'm not
So-
making my opinion. but-
We're not getting more time. I have a question. We've heard from a few residents who provided us pictures and other accounts that the gate's not just being opened in the afternoon, it's sometimes being open on weekends and in the evenings for sporting events. We've seen pictures of cars being parked up in an area that hasn't been approved as a parking lot. Can you comment on that? Because we asked this question last time, we were told it was only open during that window in the afternoon for pickup.
I think I could speak to this. So typically the only time we've actually opened that gate for like an afternoon, evening game would be when we have dismissal and everything going on and we have an opposing team coming in with a bus into that parking
We've
lot.
seen pictures of buses going through the neighborhood from other districts. We've seen pictures of a bunch of cars parking up there, and we've seen pictures of Saturdays. where it's
So-
open. So
Typically, that gate is locked with a maintenance master key, right? So there's certain individuals who would be able to unlock that gate on a weekend or whatnot. We're typically not there on the weekend, so I wouldn't say it would be us, but any of the buses that come in up top, we've never, not one time, had any of those buses come through this lane or picking students up for any reason. If there was a bus down there, it was the opposing team for that athletic event.
Right.
As far as
Are they being directed
Yeah.
to go to the back?
My understanding is that they would not be able to get in because when that game's taking place, say at 3:30, 4 o'clock. There's all this pickup going on, so we can't send a bus down there to park down there. Now, if this was a Saturday game at 5 p.m., right? That bus is gonna come in this way and go down. The gate should not be
Where-
unlocked on a weekend.
where are they parking? Was that on your original site plan?
So most of our spectators, we've actually asked to park over here and then sometimes in the church lot. We may have an occasional coach or somebody usually parking down there, but we've always
We've
asked. our-
seen full lots down
Yeah,
there.
Yeah, we have asked the spectators to always, and like opposing teams to park up in our main lots. We
Um,
typically don't try to fill that lower parking lot.
But the gate is being routinely opened, not during pickup hours. Yes,
I would say no. I mean, I'm the one that would open the gates at 2:30 and pretty routinely you would find us down there at 3:30 unlocking our gate just for dismissal.
You know, if it's an emergency gate, shouldn't it be on a Knox box and then it should have less people having that access and more limited to the emergency vehicles and one master key at the school that is for that specific lock? Because it should be on a Knox box if it is an emergency road.
So
It was a construction road.
It was a
Not an
construction,
emergency
it's
road.
not, it's not even emergency, it is for, it was for the, established for essentially the construction of the.
So it should have a
Extension.
significant limited users then, and it sounds like you have people that have the athletic field keys have that key.
the only person on that would be our athletic director. But other than that, it's pretty locked down. And that he is in the Knox box up onto the building for first responders as well.
Okay. Are there other questions right now?
And I would say like, you know, again, as someone who is new to the school, new to the community, right? Some of the issues that you're raising are also new to me, even here tonight, right? We want to be good neighbors and work to address them. So, you know, I'm grateful for the opportunity to address those kinds of concerns. And, you know, that's the reason why we came here, you know, to propose this amended site plan.
I appreciate you coming here for that. Are there any other questions? At this point, based on all of the discussion here, hearing from the public, hearing from the staff, the people there, the application that we have in front of us. The application that we have in front of us is really for the opening of that gate.
Yes, for that limited window of time.
So
Correct.
that was established in 2007 as a maintenance gate. It's not for access in there. So in terms of this application, I'm going to make a motion to deny this application. That gate should remain closed. You have opportunities here on site. I think there are ways that it can be solved on site. I think you can find the creative ways. I would encourage you to resubmit a new application with an option that shows the flow of traffic on site to solve your problem. Does that make sense? So.
No, not really. So why not make a motion to approve the site and see if the board would want to go along with that?
I can do either one, but.
And I mean, I guess I'm also not
So,
quite clear what the proposal is that you're saying that I should come back to you with.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at option C here, and I think there are options.
Again, at dollars, I don't have.
Again,
It's not the town's
that's not,
I agree.
Right,
But
so-
well, I guess. My question is, so if the site plan is, if the application is denied, then. You know, the alternative, right, tomorrow, or, you know, at some immediate date, you know, here pretty soon, right, would be to have traffic back on Janesville Road. I'm seeing a head nod. And so at that point, do we want to reevaluate what that traffic looks like during that time of day and then reconsider? Or are you suggesting that I keep doing what I'm doing while we reevaluate, you know, alternatives here for this proposal? Maybe there's a option D that none of us have come up with yet, right? And in the meantime, we should continue to do this because, you know, we've been demonstrated that, you know, things are safe. I don't know, I guess I'm a little confused still.
so the application that I have in front of me is to open the gate. I can offer that up to the board. And we can decide on whether or not this application can move forward. Right? You will have work to do to keep your stuff, keep all of your traffic on site or whatever the safest manner is, whether that's, you know, working with a resource officer to have somebody out on Janesville Road to manage traffic, to look at alternative site plans in here. But I think that's what you have to focus on, is to not push it through to the neighborhood and to figure out what the best opportunity off Janesville Road is.
Even though traffic goes through neighborhood into Wiltshire?
That's not in front of us right now.
Right.
Is there an option for MPH to work with neighbors in that neighborhood on those streets to come up with traffic calming.
That's within your purview to do, but that's not the application.
No, I'm asking if as a board, that's an option we can take.
I remember hearing someone, or somebody was looking for like a reasonable third way, right? Wanting to know whether there was, a path forward together, right? To consider reasonable alternatives, which again is something that.
Looking at
we're
it.
interested in.
That's the compromise.
Again, at dollars I don't have. I can't spend money to do that.
If there's other creative ways you can go about it without unreasonably detrimenting the neighbors here.
I guess that's what I'm asking, and that's what Christian is asking as well.
So. I think at this point, what I'll do is I will make a motion. To approve the application or to make the application to proceed at this point. So. Let me ask the board. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So at this point,
I'm curious if there are any abstentions.
at this point, the application that we have in front of us is denied.
Okay.
I would encourage you either to talk to the neighbors, figure out what's going on. There's a way to work it out there, but look at options to keep it on site. And then I think, our office is gonna keep an eye on that gate.
Gate needs to be closed, because right now you're in violation.
We cannot move forward until that is locked and closed. Because you are in non-conformance or non-compliance at this point. So any application that comes forward after this, that will have to be in compliance in order for us to review it.
And we will begin enforcing that,
Tomorrow.
because right now you're in violation.
Okay, so that gives me
Can we wait till Monday?
how many hours to communicate with them?
Yes, try to communicate that.
30 years.
I would request. Well, I would just request from a traffic standpoint, that you give them a day to notify everyone, because otherwise you
Please.
will have chaos in the neighborhood tomorrow. Because
Yeah.
They'll be turning around and.
Until Monday, so we could have them send something out to all of their parents.
Thank you.
Because we did ask, and so anybody who thinks that is unfair, we did ask them at the last meeting that they shut it down to be in compliance. So there was time for, yes, we did.
Yes, we did.
So we did, so there was time to warn parents and everything. But I do agree that we should give them time because, as a traffic thing, I think it would be complete mayhem tomorrow morning.
I asked you on November 8th last year.
And that's and that was, as soon as we learned, that's what initiated this whole process.
You're
Right,
right.
as I recall, the last conversation was, you're aware that you're in non-compliance. And I said, yes, that's exactly what brought us to here, right?
No, I specifically said it needs to be closed.
And I think you received a letter as well, regarding that.
Thank you. Thank you.
For the work. That's gotta be a way. Gotta be a way to do it. Okay, next up, we have Nallway comments. Give me a second, I'll let everybody hear out.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thanks, muscle.
Excuse me, Janet. You must have dropped these buttons.
Talk to you.
Reverend, yes, ladies. I just need to go get my coat. I hope this machine is on. Sorry, folks.
We should have seen, that's really boring, that's, we did.
I know. Yeah, let's go. I had a gavel, I would bang it.
We still got 2 hours to go, guys.
Ready to get a hockey game. I know. Jamie, you still on?
I'm here. Can you see me?
Thank you, Matt.
Can you hear me?
Oh, he's not. Okay.
Bye.
Just a little bit, Matt, will you just close the door?
Oh, you go ahead.
All right. Thank you for your patience on that one. We knew that was gonna be a tough one to work through. You said you have your architect on?
Oh. The contractor for the site.
Okay. So what we're looking at here is a multi-tenant sign package.
Yes.
We didn't lose Jamie. No, Jamie's still here, so. Why don't you go through and give us the. Give us the dog and pony show and tell us what you plan on doing for.
Well,
multi-tenant.
I believe Chick-fil-A was already, that's already approved, and you guys wanted this building to have the same pattern, so we're just saying.
So basically we took the Chick-fil-A template and basically did exactly what they did to make it uniform across the whole lot, because that's how the code's written.
Yeah.
So since Chick-fil-A was already, we'd submitted one for Tropical Smoothie, but we got feedback basically saying that it needs a backer plate like the one Chick-fil-A was already submitted.
Yeah, I think that's the consistency that we want to see through the plaza.
Correct. So
the other thing with this one, and maybe it's been corrected there, the 2'4" sign area, which was approved with this building in here, the Tropical Smoothie Cafe is bigger.
Has to be within
It
it.
has to stay within that 2'4" height.
Okay.
Okay, so when you do your scaling and size and stuff, it's gotta maintain, would be within that 2'4" height that's there. I don't think you're gonna reach the 20 feet, but. the
So
height
you're
is part.
outside of it right now. You realize that, right?
yeah, so this is not submit. This one was by the corporate Tropical Smoothie sign guy. So he's
Okay.
obviously, I don't think he's on this call right now. But I mean that's feedback we're gonna have to give them.
Is the 2'4", is that line an actual building
No,
line?
it's
That's
just
a reference line.
It's a reference line.
Good, 'cause I don't.
No, it's not.
Yes, no, there are no actual lines. Actually, the building looks beautiful, so it's very nice. Yeah. Haven't driven by it. I mean, now it's like I drive by at 3 o'clock at night, but. No, I think this is, in terms of a multi-tenant sign package, what we're looking for in terms of consistency between Chick-fil-A, these sites. And then we gotta deal with ski company And that one, before we can kind of get through all of this, we talked about it last year, they've got to get those signs down, window signs in there. Remember talking about those?
But I thought they was addressed, they just said take the
It's,
name out.
yeah, they're still up. I mean, we talked about, when we talked about it before, any reference to manufacturers,
Right.
logos, any of that has to come out.
Correct.
So, and they said they were gonna change out the window screening at some point, but we gotta get that one taken care of before we can
Approved.
do the rest of this. So,
But the
I wish they had to
window
do that.
And what they said
Windows
was they
in
were.
code, so is 25% of the windows facing the road would be signed.
So do we know what else is going on?
And sign is any of the window covering.
Imagery.
Imagery and stuff.
Yeah, and that is to be.
It's all part of the same site because it's one site,
Are
so
we
it
including that with the multi-tenant sign
has
package,
to
the
be.
window signs?
has to be
Okay.
because it's all part of the same site.
Even though that wasn't part of, that building was separated, that wasn't. That was a
It's on the
separate-
same parcel though, right?
The code requires the
it will be.
plan for everything on the same parcel.
Yeah,
But
right.
but when that was built, it was a separate parcel, that's what I'm saying, that was separate.
Is it still a separate parcel?
I don't believe so, I think it is now.
It's separate now,
It's separate?
or is it, it's one site now, I thought.
It's one parcel,
One tax,
one tax map number.
Right now, from parcel,
Right.
ski company was there and the size went up, it was a separate parcel.
And now it no
Right.
longer is.
So I think there's,
There was a fine.
we gotta, yes, there was. And so we gotta kind of separate the two. We gotta address the signs that we talked about and like those have to get corrected. I don't think we need to modify any of these ski company signage there because that was previously approved as part of
Hard
the
signage you're
the hard
talking about.
signage, right? But the
Like-
window signage and all that stuff needs to get addressed.
Well, and just to clarify, and I agree, Nate, we're not asking any of that actual signage to be modified at all, but we do want it to be part of the multi-tenant sign package so that in the future, if anything changes, it's all in one package. That's the point of it. But
Yeah, we're not
that
changing that.
the window signs have been part of every approval now that's happened. And it's like, you gotta fix them, you gotta take them down, you gotta fix them, and it just has been ignored. I can pull up any of those prior approvals that say, and by the way, you know, we're gonna let you do this, but you gotta take care of the ski company sign. It's happened a lot, so.
I think what was
and-
represented there was that the signs would be swapped out at the next season.
Right, yeah.
And they've gotta be there by now.
Yeah.
Right?
I think we're already a year around now, so. And we'll just clarify, we're talking about the window signs at the ski company that we keep mentioning every time that they can't be there like they are.
So is that, before we can get this all approved, gotta push them to get those things addressed. I mean, I don't wanna hold things up, but at some point, we're gonna have to stop approving things for this site. Because we've asked consistently to have that done. Right, I know, but we've asked, so.
But it just, some clarifying, I mean, I thought they said it can't say any name, like Rosano is on there, so.
Right.
I think ski company, their lawyer, whatever, responded saying, we will cover the Rosano, we will cut that out and just make it the whole color. Their stance was, it's a window, and what they put in their window is what they put in their window.
The code allows 25% of the full windows facing the road up to 120 square feet, which includes your main sign.
It's
That's what's allowed in windows, according to the
So,
design.
so what, if there's nothing in the window, what, well, if you're looking into a store, and there's a sign inside the store that shows the guy with the ski, that, I don't have a problem, I just want to get the thing right.
we're abiding by the letters in the code, right? I mean, I understand your stance.
What's the magic distance behind the rain glass?
Right,
The
exactly.
guy with
Yeah.
the cutout with the guy name of the Rossi skis.
Right.
But the trick is, that's not attached to the window. When we do that, when we have the, against the window, that's the problem.
So,
That's why a lot of those other stores, you know, that I've been involved with, they will put that wall outside the window
vision,
and the box. That.
Well, it's a fine line, guys. I wouldn't try to get
Right.
into whatever's
we're
just
not
right
gonna
here
do
or there.
that, I wanna
But I
talk
will
about these. I wanted to let you know that these, I think we're headed in a good direction, I know this is concept, like this. using Chick-fil-A in the backer and setting up that language that we can do for the other parts of the building, this is all great. It's unfortunately gotta sit here until we have that other part addressed.
Again, I'll address it with my tenant.
Right. I mean, at this point, tell them that they're holding you up, I mean.
Well, that's not gonna, hopefully we'll make it faster. Everybody likes to hold me up.
I don't wanna hold you up, but I know we've asked several times, so at this point, we need to get it taken care of. But
Well, let me ask you. What strength can I get from you? I mean, I tell my tenant you can't do that, so how do I enforce it?
we can cite them.
Yeah, we could send out code enforcement.
What
Well,
do
the
I-
property owner's gonna be cited.
Huh?
And the tenant and the property owner are gonna be cited.
Right,
That, that's,
so you'll
I don't know,
get
you
a
might-
citation as well on there, if you're their landlord.
Right.
You know.
Okay,
But they'll get cited and you'll get cited, and then hopefully that gives you a little bit more leverage in there to get that addressed. But I think on the whole, unless anybody else has any objection to this, I think we're headed in the right direction with this one.
Yeah.
You know, make sure that the height fits within the pre-established signage bands we've all set up with this building, but I think,
I just want to clarify on window signs, I want to read the definition. Because it's signs right behind the window too that are viewable from outside. Any advertising or identification sign affixed to a window and other transparent part of a facade wall or located behind such transparent part of a facade wall so as to be legible from the exterior of a building.
That's still pretty.
Sorry, I'm a
We
dollar
need to
word.
fix that one at some point.
it's there, but this is what we have to work with.
This is the.
Cause it could be that could be, you could put nothing on your wall, building in a clear glass window wall, you can see right through the middle.
So why would you approve a window? That's what
I believe that was brought up. I believe it was actually brought up when that was approved, like, what are you gonna do with this window? And that was discussed
If I
when
remember correctly, I think there's actually a wall in front of that window, directly behind the window covering.
Yes.
So, anyway,
Okay, but I think we're here right now
you hear it?
to say that's okay.
We're headed in the right direction here, get this taken care of, then we can get everything put into a package and get a multi-tenant sign package pulled together. We'll have our standards set up, and then that's what we'll adhere to going forward for the law.
So for,
Quick
Sorry.
question, is the goal 40 foot per store? Or does it really need to be 2 by 20?
Say that
The
again.
signage,
Signage.
I assume it's
Yeah.
40.
Well, there's essentially 4 tenant spots there theoretically, they have 4 doors.
yes, yep. So if you look at the
Is it
multi-tenant
really
one,
the 2 by 20 is the criteria, or are we going to limit it to?
It's 2 4, because that's what, when we approved the building, we approved the signage area, and that's 2 by 20. That's on there, and those are the identified square,
And in the center, it's less because there's no additional space for it.
right, so
They just divided
there
it
they
by
had
2.
3'6" by
By
16.
get the square footage. So they can make a sign box that's
Yeah.
it's that exact size.
Yeah.
And do it up, or they can put their logos in it and, the logo signage, so whatever they wanna do with the residents. Give it, we said, and the
Yeah.
color criteria is already been set by Chick-fil-A, but they're matching, so.
Standard them in there.
Yeah.
Right,
We don't think they have to meet the Chick-fil-A colors. I think it's
No,
that
no,
colors
just-
have to be approved by the owner.
Yeah.
They just
Yeah.
want-
we're not doing any neon flashing lights.
I'm putting that out.
Okay, you got it? Alright,
what, for Tropical Smoothie, they're trying to open up first week in December is when our build out's gonna be done. What do they need to do with their sign now?
well, you've got to get a whole multi-tenant sign package into the town office, which includes all the signage, and then on top of that, we've got to get the other one addressed.
Ski company.
So we're gonna have to resubmit this multi-tenant sign package again, even though the window, I mean, obviously the window is holding it up. But I mean, we're not gonna,
Well, I mean, the package that you have in right now shows the sign too big anyway.
correct, well, I mean, I can have them correct that.
Right, so you correct that, you get it, you know, with the Chick-fil-A signage.
Does that come in front of the board or can it be permanent? Something throw it
That
down.
has to be the board.
The board, but we'll just do, you know, I mean, if you can get the materials in, we've got we have 2 meetings in December? 2 meetings. So we have 2 meetings in December. Right, so this is our only meeting in November because of the holiday. So we can get, if you get the materials in, I don't foresee us having an issue with this at all.
Okay, so
I don't speak
Yeah.
broadly, I
Just make it
don't,
happen, we'll.
right, we'll push it through, but you've also gotta get ski company,
I'll
taken care
figure
of.
it out, okay,
right?
And
I'd
then,
like to get a letter from you guys saying, you know, we're gonna take action, because I know it gives me a little.
Yeah, and that's fair. And that's fair, and so Alana's office can get you that on there, okay?
So.
Thank you.
What other entertainment you got today?
I'll talk about some EV chargers.
Why don't you give $1 million to school?
Okay. All set on that one, let's move on to the last couple of items.
Yeah, keep picking up some work.
Do we have the applicant for, I mean, there's nobody else here in the room, the EV chargers?
Hi, yes, I'm here. I'm online. Yep,
And we're gonna, and you're representing all 3 of them, correct?
correct. Yep.
Courtyard, Residence and Embassy,
Yes.
so let's talk about those as a singular, because I think you're.
Yeah, yep, they're all different
Same thing
layouts
on
and
all of them?
sure.
no violation.
Okay. So, do you want to present?
If I can, that'd be great. Yes.
You make sure that multi people can,
I just sent a request for that.
And Bridget, what's your last name?
O'Connor.
Thank you.
Every move.
Just let me know if you can
You
see
got
my
it.
screen.
we got it.
We got
Yep.
Got it? Okay, good. All right, I'm just gonna go through each one just to explain the scope of work, since they are obviously different for each one. So the first project we have is at the Courtyard by Marriott, located at 6415. I'll show you a few different versions of the project because I know sometimes it's hard to just look at construction drawings. Actually, we're lucky for these 3 projects on Google Earth, we can get right on the ground and look at them in real scope. So here's an aerial shot of this project. This specific project is a level 2 only project. So those are just level 2 charging stations, which are smaller, slower stations, I should say. A level 2 station, if you're not familiar with EV charging stations, takes between 4 and 6 hours for a charge, which is why these are great options for hotels because a person staying overnight at the hotel, if they were driving the EV, could plug their car in overnight and leave it there. So what we're proposing at this specific location is 6 level 2s that have dual ports on them. So that would be 2, I'll show you a picture of the station in a second, but it's 2 ports per station and then also an additional single port, which is located in this location here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dual ports, and then the single port in front of the ADA spot here. The power for this particular station or these particular stations would be coming off of the main distribution panel, which is located inside the building. I'm just going to move to another view of this so it's a little bit easier to see. So again, we have 6 stations along the side of the building here, each providing charging to 2 cars. A single port here, we would have a panel and our meter socket would be going outside of the utility room, which is located in this area of the building. Again, I'm going to show you, just drive around here. So here's that aerial shot. If I come and stand here, we can see the area that I'm talking about. So the utility room is in here. There is space available on the main distribution panel that we could pull power off of. We'd be putting our panel out here and then the stations along this side of the building. Unfortunately, I can't get any closer. I can zoom in, but this is as far as I can go. There's no, the camera didn't
Let
drive.
me ask you, what are the rooms on the first floor there? I mean, those are all rooms looking out into the.
They are rooms. And in my pre-planning meeting that I had a few weeks ago with Alana and Doug and Eric, we had talked about landscape screening for the chargers, which I understand is likely a requirement. And I would love to hear your thoughts on how you'd like us to screen if you're okay with this location. This location makes the most sense for us because we're not ripping up the parking lot. We can just lay our conduit along the grass here and pour our charging station pads along the side. We would curb cut in here and pour our pads. That the stations would then be installed on. We also install bollards and signs.
Okay.
So if it's helpful just to take a look at the stations themselves, this is what they look like. This is what I mean by 2 ports. And I also just thought, let me see if I can't get out of here.
Are there any
These things glow at
I was
night.
gonna say big neon lights on the top of these things?
No, this is the screen. And it's obviously, as you can see, it's not very big. It's an 8-inch screen that you can advertise on, but we have not yet had a customer do that. We don't encourage it. You're just getting in there to start your charge, scan the QR code and start your charge, which is typically done through your phone.
And just to be clear, we don't allow advertising.
Yep. Yeah, and that's a very common, so.
Okay.
I wanted to, 1 second, I hope you can see this. I just wanted to show a couple pictures if I could, so you could just get an idea what they look like installed.
Much different.
The yellow bollards.
On a pad with the bollards. We have a few different designs that we do. If it's a sidewalk, let me show you a sidewalk here. This is when their stations are charged on the sidewalk, if there's enough clearance behind it.
Can you go back to the product cut for a second?
Sorry, can you say that again? I cut out.
Yeah, can you go back to she can't because there's so much.
Sorry.
The product cut sheet.
Sure. Did I lose it? Nope, that's a DCFC. Here we go. Here's the ADM. So this is the level 2.
So that center bowl where you got the little green charging car logo on there.
Here.
Is there, and it's a little misleading when you look at that versus the picture.
Well, let me show you. We can, let me see if there's another one here. So we can also have, like, some of these, what's happening here is that the cables that they asked us to ship for these projects were longer. So the stations are actually usually shorter. But because they wanted 25-foot cables, we made them, that's why this is put up so high. But we can make this lower. I mean, this is adjustable.
But when you make it so much higher, I don't feel like you get the use of the length of the cable. Like you're making
It's
it.
not a retractable, usually a little lanyard.
Yeah, but why wouldn't they make it retract further?
Yeah, right. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah,
It's like,
but why have it so high?
I think it's because, yeah, they don't have them retracting inside the unit because the unit itself is so small. So they have them this length so they're not draped all over the ground.
so what are you asking to put here? This?
So what we'd like to do here is a level 2 station, like I just showed you.
Yeah, the length of the cable.
The height.
Oh. We can put the shorter height in if that's the preference. Another thing that had happened was that they had run, like our manufacturer had run out of the typical size that we were using, which I think was a 15-foot cable. So yeah, but we can obviously, if you have a preference on the.
Yeah, and our preference would be the shorter.
Okay.
Are they requesting the longer?
So the one that's shorter with the 15-foot cable is what we want.
Right. Yeah, the shorter, like, it should look like that, not.
Shorter with
Like-
25-foot cables is not what we want.
Right. Right. Okay, sorry, keep going.
No, that's okay. Yeah, I can, and I should have pulled up this. Those are just recent projects that we had done, so I should have pulled them up, but ones of the standard size. So I guess I'll just go back to the layout here. Is there any issue with how we've laid out the stations?
No, I think
Well, the ADA spots, those are really challenging with the charging station. I'm not sure how you're accomplishing that. Even the, even the display is hard they're tall, they're usually shorter in height, so is there a different unit for the ADA spot?
So for the ADA spot, we actually cut it to be compliant, and gosh, forgive me, because I can't remember what we cut the base. The inside of the base, it allows us to do that, so we make them shorter, and we also mount them to the ground instead of putting them on a pedestal, because our pedestals are typically 6 inches. So they add either 4 or 6 inches of a concrete pad. So we don't want to make them any higher than they need to be. So you know, if it's not a requirement for us to do an ADA spot, we obviously don't have to. You know,
I encourage it.
yeah, we do like to have them at our most locations when it makes sense. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. But in this case, yeah, we would be mounting it to the ground so that it's, I think it's 46 inches that it needs to be up to the center of the screen. Does that sound right for anybody who knows about ADA? Sorry, I don't have that off the top of my head right now, but our contractors all know.
It has to be the range, like a countertop range, so,
Well, there's the side approach reach,
oh yeah, so side,
it's like 46.
yeah.
It doesn't mean.
Anyway, they're gonna do it, right?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Yes.
And I can call that out. Actually, let me just check. Maybe it's
So
called
you
out.
had two, so the thing is, you had 2 of your handicap parking spots, like 2 of your accessible parking spots have them, I think. And I feel like if you put them in a lot of your ADA spots, you're gonna have somebody parking in that no parking spot to charge their vehicle, because there's a charging station there, but they're not an ADA licensed person.
Yeah, that's a great comment.
So I don't know if your percentage is right, because you have 2 of your ADA spots with chargers.
Yeah, and I think it's just the way that it laid out here, because we have the other space here to accommodate. And the reason, you know, we're trying to get the amount of stations in that the customer wanted here, which was they actually wanted 8 dual ports. But we didn't want to, it didn't really make sense to put an ADA spot here, because then you block your aisle your access aisle to get onto the sidewalk. So we weren't going to put the ADA spot here, or I'm sorry, the charger in between the 2 ADA spots here. That's why we went with the single port. You know, we don't want to obviously take this away, but maybe, you know, we could meet in the middle here and just have a sign that says, you know, optional EV charging or something, so that you're not going to lose those 2 ADA spots, and someone could park in them even if they weren't driving an EV.
So that's, yeah.
Well, I would be just concerned about that, because then people may think it's optional for ADA as well, just people and signs, like, you may think it's obvious.
Yes, totally.
People may think it's obvious, but.
No, I'm with you.
All right. Not that I want to push this along, but next, let's look at the other 2.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. I know everybody wants to get home.
Wait.
Feels like it's midnight because it's so dark.
Yeah, so with screening, yeah,
Right.
because those rooms look out, you're
Okay.
gonna wanna find each one of those units.
Okay. So typically what we're doing is screening pedestals. So, and I had mentioned this in my meeting earlier, is just that, we work with Amherst often, and they gave us a few different bushes that we could use, or trees. And one of them was like an arborvitae, one was a 4-foot, blue arrow juniper. Do you guys have a preference of what we would use to screen, or just something that would block the pedestal?
We have a list of, don't we have?
Yeah, if you look at your design guidelines, it has a list of plants in there, and trees.
Okay. Sorry, maybe you said that in our last meeting and I didn't write it down.
And did we have additional ones now also from?
I don't think it hasn't been updated.
Oh, no, because that's a tree too, by the way, not a bush, never mind. Yeah. Forget what I tree, that's a tree, yeah.
Okay, so yes, screening, that's gonna apply to all 3 of them.
You said all 3 of?
All 3 properties.
Oh, yes, of course. Yep. Okay. Just one question I have about this here, like there isn't any screening around this transformer. We are, like I said, are going to have to put our panel. So we put like a rack. It's like an H-frame rack that we mount our panel to, or in our switch gear. Do we need to screen that also?
That was inside.
Yeah. Yeah, didn't you say it was inside?
I mean, the equipment or the power source is inside, but then we take that. The power conduit runs out of the main distribution panel, and then we have another panel that we use to power the chargers.
So where is that image?
Go back to your site plan and show us
Yeah.
where that is on your site plan.
It is right here.
And do you have an image of that you can show us?
Ooh, yes, I do. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can.
It would be good to get an elevation.
See what I mean, the
Like-
bottom line is, yes, it's gonna wanna be screened,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, in terms of its height and what it looks like.
I don't have a photo. I don't think like readily available.
You supply that to Alana and she'll distribute that to us?
Sure. Sorry, I can actually show what it looks like. Let me share again one more time, quick. In here, like we have a call out, like our backboard details, typically what this looks like. So it's, you have, you know, a concrete pad with a rack, and then mounted to the rack is a panel meter board. There might even be one like over here. Let me see.
You're not sharing anymore.
Oh. There we go. Sorry. I guess there isn't one here, but see if I can pull this up. So this is in the plans on A2. This is what our racks look like, and then we just mount our panel to the rack itself.
How tall is that ladder rack?
6 feet, what does it say? 6'10", I think. Yeah. Can't read it. 6 feet 10 inches. That seems like overkill. That
Yeah, that is, I mean, we're gonna ask that you keep that to an absolute minimum
okay.
and screen it.
Okay.
But the screening, I think the screening approach is actually pretty difficult here. Because to have just a, you know, single shrub or a tree in front of each one of the power units. I actually don't think that achieves what we're looking for. I kind of feel like the screening needs to be something kind of along the entire length.
Yeah.
Or, you know, landscaping wise to incorporate for this to work, because I think it actually worse. If we just have power packed tree, power packed tree.
What's
you know.
I do the sidewalk?
It's not.
There is no sidewalk. It's not on the sidewalk.
So along that entire run.
Oh, there's no
Grass.
walking there.
Right.
Right.
They don't walk to the parking lot, effectively.
That's my comment.
Did you hear that comment?
I didn't.
When you're screening along the whole length,
You want screening the entire length from, would it be starting from here and over and like, or you want it, this whole area screened?
I mean, to the point that Doug made, instead of individually trying to screen each one, which doesn't achieve what we're looking to do, it is more of a consistent, balanced look to screen the entire length in there so that people looking out the windows in those spaces aren't looking diagonally and just seeing the side of the charger.
More of a hedge.
Yeah, exactly, more of a hedge.
Okay.
So
I'll get some examples of what that could look like, and I'll definitely make sure to put something formal together, and I can even have the plans updated so that they call that out, so you know what it looks like. So you're essentially saying something that would go from here to here, along here, which is where the rooms are, but not necessarily a hedge needed here because there's no rooms here, correct?
I mean,
I think you're gonna do screening around the other electrical equipment you're
Right.
talking about, so I think you could tastefully kind of incorporate some screening.
Okay.
Yeah.
so
Be more consistent.
I think it should be a consistent solution.
Yeah.
exactly, consistency across the board, and then, you know, consistency across each of the properties that we're talking about in terms of.
Sure.
this-
I am interested to see what you'll say about the next site, because it's a little bit different of a setup here. Are you okay? Do you feel good with this one? Can we move next door?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, great. All right, we're gonna close these up. Don't say that, I'll remember that, okay. So the second one we're looking at is the Syracuse Circle Lodging. And let's see. This is like literally right next door, so let me just pull these two maps up, just give me a second. Okay, so this is next door, the Residence Inn. If you're in the location we were just at, this is where we're looking at before. This project is taking place over here. So we had originally looked at putting the project along this area because we are going off of the MDP, the main distribution panel. Let me show this map. The main distribution panel that's again located inside the building over here. But this was not going to give enough clearance for ADA. So we've moved them across the street or across the parking aisle. So if I can get down here to show you. So again, main distribution panel is through this, I think it's through this door. And we are looking at putting the charging stations along this area, and we'd be curb cutting here. There's not room to screen, but it, you know, obviously already has some screening with the fence.
That's up to
Yeah.
the throughway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's way on right.
Yeah, so I think at that point with the fence and, you know, your throughway as the neighbor to the rear, I don't think you're gonna need to do it at this location.
Okay. And I just want to make sure we're just so that we're all on the same page with this one that
I also do just want to make the statement that the fence will remain intact, that the fence doesn't get cut to accommodate.
correct. We're actually gonna have to we're gonna have to curb cut again over here, so that we'll be coming into the curb itself and we'll pour our pads here. So a portion of the pad will be
Is that the parking stall?
into the parking stall.
Does it shorten the parking stall?
Yeah.
It's I mean, we put the stations in between the parking stalls. So it's doesn't really run that big of an effect on the length of the stall itself. If you understand, like, because
Yeah, but what about the bollards? Like people, I back in, so
Well,
if you were to back in and then you have to get stuff out of your trunk and you have a station like in the back corner, like.
Go back to the street view that you had there.
Yeah, the bollards are minimally invasive because they're on the actual pad itself.
That truck would take out,
Yeah, he's taking up the whole spot. That doesn't look
Yeah.
like large spot. How about that? With
Those are
ample
2
room
footers.
on each side for a.
You
Something
also,
else.
you have to meet the parking code, which is 19 feet for a parking stall.
Okay, so as long as we can meet that and are you saying from the station pad?
yeah. from the
Because like I
face-
said, like the pad would be cut into the curb minimally, and then the rest of the pad would be poking out into this area.
Your aisle width also needs to be 24 feet.
Okay.
But your snowplow guy is gonna hate that.
Yeah, so the bollard cannot be in the parking spot.
The bollards need to be on the curb line and everything has to be set.
Yeah, that's what I would think is where you want to put it.
You know, I just don't know if there's how much room is. Hard to tell so far, it's like about 2
I
feet.
pulled into plenty of charging stations when the snow just can't get out. They just pile it up against the station. You can't even, can't back in.
Right.
So you don't want that either.
You're right.
Okay.
I stand.
And here we have 5, correct?
Correct. Yep. 5 stations, 5 dual ports. And these are the level 2s as well, the ones we just spoke about.
Any other questions on this one?
Yeah, actually, where's the wire rack gonna be for this one located?
The gear for this is gonna have to be taken up in the parking space on the opposite side of this. So we're looking at taking up a parking space, possibly 2, most likely just 1, and then we would have that all bollarded off. The conduit would run behind. There's some we wanted to put it in here, but we're just not able to. There's just not enough room with the transformer that's already in there.
You're gonna lose the parking stalls.
You should read.
My suggestion is gonna be that you're gonna curb that and eliminate those 2 parking stalls. You also need to prove to us that you don't need those 2 parking stalls in terms of the parking count requirement.
And then I think if you're getting rid of a parking stall to put that, you might wanna make a little space in between a couple of the spots to redo the other spots to make it so you actually have the space for the bollards.
Then they can step out into the park, into the
Yeah.
asphalt zone, get curved around.
Yeah,
It's all about parking count here.
right.
You know, like what's
So
the-
you can get rid of one spot, use half of the spot for the new rack and use the other half of the spot to put some extra space where you wanna put the chargers in down the row. You know what I mean? So then in front of the bollards, you could
I
have
see what you're saying.
a little passageway.
I'm sorry, I wasn't following that. Could you just say it one more time?
You know another way to say it?
So if you were to. I guess maybe if I'm understanding, eliminate on the other side where the chargers are, is to eliminate a stall on that side and use the width,
Distribute the
Redistribute,
width
yeah.
of the spot, the width of a parking spot. So you have like almost,
9 feet, so you have 2 4-foot sections that you can put dual chargers in.
yeah,
Right.
And then you get plugged your car into each of those sides, whether you're
Right.
parking
Right.
forward or parking back.
because those don't look like ample spots. You know, you can have a thin spot and they look like smaller spots. But you could distribute the additional width of the parking space that you're taking away because of your rack. And you can put it in between 2 spots.
Right.
And make it so it's a no parking swiped out lane, and that way you could have the back there and you're not interfering with the depth of the parking spot and you're not interfering with the parking spot, period.
Okay. And so essentially we would restripe this so it would be laid out a little bit better, and I hope you'd be okay with it. We'd probably have to put a station over here then, because we just don't have enough. There's only 10 spots here and there's 2 spots per charger. So if we were gonna put our gear on this side of the median, or on whatever this is called here, if we were gonna put our gear on this side of it, then we would lose a space for a charger.
Yeah, so I think if we were to see how you were gonna lay it out and how it actually works, and then we would have something to really look at that would work. Because right now, I think that it isn't a feasible solution that we have.
Okay.
And I would plan, we're gonna need a full parking count for the site and, you know,
Yep.
what's existing and what's required for code.
Okay. Do you know what? So number of rooms is 102, number of parking spaces here is 106, and we're talking about losing 1. We don't really say that the EV chargers cause you to lose a space. But
For hotels, you're required to have 1 space for each guest bedroom.
so if there's 100, we have a surplus then here of 4 spaces.
So I think there's opportunity for you to reconfigure those.
Great.
Again, I know it's a late night. I do wanna move on to the next one.
Sure thing. Yep. Okay. So the last one is Embassy Suites, which is a mix level 2 and level 3 project. So this has both DCFC, which are fast chargers. And I just want to pull up the layout for that. So this is again at the Embassy Suites, and we're looking at kind of taking over this first row of parking spaces when you pull into the hotel. We are proposing, I guess it's 4 level 3s, so 4 DCFCs. DCFC is a fast charger that can charge a car in like 30 to 40 minutes of full charge, as opposed to the level 2s, which take many hours. And then 7 level 2s here. We did already speak about the landscape screening, so obviously we would do something similar here with either a hedge or just some sort of way to block these from the neighboring property. For this particular property or this particular project, we need a larger power source. So we'd be working with the utility company who would be installing a new pole on the corner that would go to a small pad mount transformer. And then our rack would be here. And obviously we would screen all of these.
Level 3s often have their own transformer dedicated, they're remote. Are these they built into the charging?
The level 3s will be powered by this new transformer that we're installing. And then the level 2s will be powered by, I mean, obviously it's all coming off the same power source, but we have a step down transformer that we would include. So,
Is that one transformer gonna power all, whatever, all four of the level?
the one transformer will power all of the stations. We have to include a step down transformer because the level twos, we can't just have them being powered by the new transformer that they're putting in. It's too much power. So they run, the conduit runs it through a step down transformer that's next to our gear. And I can also show pictures of that. I'll send in pictures of that.
There's always these extra boxes.
Just
in here.
always, yes, there's always stuff. And I wanna know where the property line is in this one.
Yeah, I have that right here.
And we still do need surveys before.
I
we do
did get surveys, so I sent them over for the other two properties as well.
Thank you. We haven't gotten them yet. Did you email them or? mail
I
them?
did. Yeah, I did because I didn't get them until just a few days ago.
You emailed them?
Yes, I did. I didn't email them to Julie.
I didn't get them, Bridget.
Oh,
if you-
okay.
That would be great.
Okay, sorry about that. I'll resend.
Thank you.
It was for, so we had we had this embassy suite in the original submission, but I didn't have the courtyard or residence in, but I did get real surveys. So, hopefully that's part of the package that you guys are looking at, but the property line, we know we do have ample space here to put them in.
Are the level threes on a charging network for the general public? Because this is a great spot for folks off the thruway to come and charge.
So all of the charging stations can be utilized by the general public. The DCFCs would be a good option for people driving EVs who are coming by. Obviously, like a fast charger is going to be more advantageous for somebody who just needs a quick charge than going and plugging into a level 2 that takes 4 to 6 hours to charge your car. Those would primarily be used by the hotel guests. But yes, the DCFCs, in order to have get the NYSERDA funding or the incentive funding for these projects, the DCFCs should be open to the public. The level 2s can be private to the hotel.
Is this,
Yeah, I just want to show you a copy, or sorry, not a copy, just the cut sheet for the charging station, the level 3 charging station.
so I assume this is the same thing that pole on top is gonna be kept to a minimum?
No, this is a whole different station. So it's this is what the level 3 station looks like, and I have a real picture for you too.
Well, and then the other question is the screen that's on there where it has the little green charging car.
Yes.
What is that screen?
So there is a 27-inch screen here that can be utilized for advertising. Like I said, we don't do that. We just have our logo up here. There's also the option to leave it blank. You can really, anybody could put their logo. These are white labeled for us. So, so if you didn't want us to have our logo up there, we could take it off. But this is what one looks like installed in the field.
It's the possibility for advertising.
Like running advertising
Right,
at the
so-
gas station.
Exactly, the gas station TV or whatever.
How
that,
bright are
you know,
those blue
shows up.
lights?
Yeah.
So that, and that's the concern of this board, is that if it has the capability to do that, we hear on day one right now that, it's just gonna be the logo, and then somebody goes in 6 months to charge there, and they're seeing buy a slice of pizza and a Coke at the local store advertisements. How do we prevent that? Right.
Well, we don't even have it as an option to set it up for advertising because no one has ever agreed to that. Like every single planning board that we've ever gone through in the 2 years that we've been doing this have all said the same thing, that there's absolutely no advertising. So we haven't even explored what that looks like. I guess could come down to like signing something or it being part of the, the approval that, we promised that to never, put anything on there, and
Yeah, that'll be in the resolution that there will.
Okay.
Advertising. So.
Okay, so in addition to the landscape screening here, do you foresee any other modifications that you'd like us to make to the plan?
The last thing
Sorry, I'm gonna pull it up one more time. Put your scroll on here.
You know, you back into those spots and those level threes are gonna be popular. So it's generally desirable not to put them so close to such a main thoroughfare onto the site. It's a little bottleneck. I don't know what other options there are here because of the power, but I think we should try and avoid that kind of cluster right there at the entrance. Does that make sense? This is just from experience.
So you don't want it near the entrance of the hotel because of.
Because
Yeah.
you got folks coming into the hotel and you got chargers, they have to back in, so just the process of in and out, such a popular charging station is it's a confluence of traffic.
Right, that's the parking spot, nobody really parks it.
So do you have an alternate location that you would propose that you, where, I'm gonna go to the overhead so we can kind of just look at the whole scope here. I mean, we've put them there because we have access to power here, right? You want to be closest to the road because we're coming off poles that are already on this road. So the utility company really picks where the power can go, and then we have we have to be within a certain distance of that transformer.
You would swap the level threes and the level twos. The level threes are further into the site rather than at the corner. That's what.
Yeah, can you move the level threes to the end or swap them? Or is that not close enough?
You're saying you'd want level threes closer to the building itself?
Yeah, well, away from the road.
Away from.
Just mirror the layout that you have, so the level.
Yeah,
Away from the entrance.
I get what you're saying.
Oh, I thought she was.
Fast chargers were here and the slow chargers.
yeah, I mean, we can explore that. To me, that makes maybe less sense because the people who are going to be parked there are not going to be hotel patrons. They would be people utilizing it from the highway. It seems like maybe we would want them further from the hotel, but you know, obviously I would defer to you guys. The other issue is that power, the further you go from your power source, obviously the weaker it would get. So that run would be a little bit like we have it structured that the DCFCs are the closest to the transformer because they need more power.
How about level twos, level threes, level twos? There was a compromise.
You guess which one it is, so you're coming up.
Sorry, it's late, we're losing.
Guys, I'm totally with you. Yeah. And maybe this is just, we could continue this conversation, but like, I do think that as the power source is going to be here for the level threes, that it makes sense to have them as close as possible to that. The other thing I wanted to just bring up really quickly is that we didn't have an ADA spot added at all. And during the pre-planning meeting, we had discussed maybe putting a spot down here at the bottom and just putting an aisle in here. So there was an option for an ADA spot if somebody wanted to park at the end here and then would have closer access to the hotel.
I think that's fair. Just make sure you do the same. Just make sure that parking council still work.
Yeah, here we have 214 rooms and 217 parking spaces. So we also have a couple to work with.
That's a dump. It is a dump.
And if you are adding that, then it's really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Maybe a vending.
well, I appreciate your time.
Yeah,
Sorry.
thanks for staying on late. I appreciate it too. Just as far as next steps go here, getting revised plans to you with landscape updates. And then I assume I come back for another meeting.
Yeah, so I think at this point, work with Alana's office to get all the material in. And then we'll see you for the next track B. I think you're on, or yeah, this is track B, right?
I mean, maybe we can see when they get their stuff in and see how our workflow is for December.
I think that's fair.
It'd be nice to get some on the earlier meeting if we can.
Yep, if you can get all that stuff, just work with her to make sure you've got everything, all your required information in the drawings and supplied, and then we'll help you kind of get through.
Okay, so just so I can manage the customer's expectations, I come back, is there a public hearing or anything for this type of project or no?
No.
No?
No,
Okay,
it would just be another meeting like this minus that whole center section.
okay, I would love that. Although I feel like I'm a member of your community now, having listened to all the gripes and grievances.
Have a kid that you'd like to send to private school.
All right, well, thank you so much. I'll get everything to you probably early next week.
New playground, they love you.
All right, thank you
Thanks
very
again,
much.
everybody. Have a good evening.
All right.
Okay, yep, bye-bye.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Second. Jenny, all in favor?
Who was there?
I'll give you one guess who made the motion.
Okay. Second, all right, gotcha. All right.
We're going to the first and the third.
First and third.
Yeah.
The fifth and the 20.
Nineteenth. You got a 19th night.
No.
Are we done?
Yeah, no,
Meeting?
Yeah. Are we?